Hey guys, it is Patrick. I am back at the B-Team International News Desk. Thank you so much for reaching out. A few of you had the same suggestion, which was staging. So check it out. We blew the budget and got a cat in a hat photo and a glass of water. So hopefully that floats the boat for you guys. Thank you so much though for your suggestions and feedback. It genuinely was appreciated. So we are back. St. Catharines real estate market report. We did. I'll link it somewhere in here previously. So this one, we thought it'd be interesting to do a top 10 list for the Niagara Real Estate Board. So we're going to zoom back a little bit. The top 10 interesting facts and figures that you might find mildly entertaining. I haven't figured out a title for it, but let's go. So number one, these are no particular order either, by the way. Niagara sales for 2020 are only 90 away from beating the 2019 total. Now remember, two of our biggest spring market months in Niagara, in any market, April and May, were down 49% year over year. April was down 62%. So to be saying, 8 months, 7 months, whatever the math is later, that we're actually on pace to not only beat last year, but we're almost ahead of last year, and we still have 50 days left in 2020. That's incredible. Two, the last 4 months in 2020 have had the lowest or second lowest number of available listings all time. So again, the last 4 months, so July, August, September, October, the lowest or second lowest number of available listings all time. So that's the supply side, right? So the demand we talked about in number one, where you have sales the last 4 months that have just been smashing records. And then at the same time, you have 4 months of consecutive low inventory. So low inventory, high demand. What do you get? You get grade 11 economics with Mrs. Baker. Number three, number of sales. So let's look at the cities. So all cities in Niagara are either ahead of schedule for 2019 or ahead as far as the total number of sales, or they're on pace to do pretty incredible things. So for example, Font Hill is up 17%. So the total number of sales in 2019 versus where we're at here, November 10th, 2020. Font Hill is already 17% ahead of the 2019 total. Thorold's up 9%, Fort Erie's up 8%, Niagara Falls, I can't remember the number, 4%, somewhere in that vicinity. Niagara-on-the-Lake is up 37% in the total number of sales for 2020 over 2019 final. So the cities that are down a little bit, St. Catharines is down 11% for 2020 year to date versus 2019 total. But it is actually on pace to be possibly third place all time for total sales volume, which is incredible. Grimsby is down a little bit. Lincoln, Vineland, it's down 8.5%. But key thing to remember is 2019 was a huge year historically, data-wise out there. So here we are in 2020. It's actually on pace to beat 2019 and set an all-time record. Welland down 7%. Port Colborne down a little bit, but it's on pace to be second all-time. Welland's actually on pace to possibly set an all-time record for the total number of sales. So again, this is all against the backdrop of COVID kicking the crap out of the market back in March, April, May. 4, the high-end explosion, the high end of the market, $1 million sales and over, we'll call that. Other markets, they call that a teardown, but here in Niagara, it still means a lot. So total number of sales over $1 million. So far, right now, November 10th, last time I checked, there's been 360 sales over $1 million. That's more than 2018 and 2019 combined. So you add up the previous 2 years, and we're ahead, and it's November 10th. So that's incredible. So there was, and to put it into context, 2015, there was only 41 sales over $1 million. And then here we are 5-6 years later, and we're at 360 with a month and a half still to go. The number six top cities for sales over $1 million. Niagara-on-the-Lake has had 126 so far this year. Interestingly enough, the next 5 are all within 8 sales of each other. You have Grimsby, Font Hill, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and Fort Erie, all between 31 to 39 sales over $1 million for the year. And again, a lot of these markets, St. Catharines, if you went back 5, 6, 8 years, you're on one hand the number of sales over $1 million. And here we are with 32, maybe get up to 35, 38, pushing up to 40 sales for the year, over $1 million for St. Catharines. But anyway, that is the high end, quote unquote, of the market. Number 5, affordability. So I've had a few people reach out and ask to do some kind of a video to discuss the affordability issue. It is a serious topic. It's a difficult topic because there's so many variables that go into it. So I've been actually trying to wrap my head around how to articulate it properly. So that will happen. I'm going to try to do that later this week. But affordability. So looking at sales under 300,000 in Niagara. There's been about 7,500 sales so far in 2020. 626 of those sales were under 300,000. So 626 of 7,502. The top three cities, St. Catharines, 198 sales. Welland, 121, and Fort Erie's had 105 sales under 300,000. Further to that, Niagara Lake had 7. And Grimsby has had all of 1 sale under 300,000 for 2020. So it's about 8% of the market so far this year. If you look just 2 years ago, under 300,000 was just about 30%. It was 29% of the market in 2018 was under 300,000. Here we are 2 years later, and it's at 8%. So it's certainly trending in one direction, that's for sure. 6, priced. Time to sell per price segment. So how long does it take to sell a home? Well, you really have to look at the value of the house. So people will see this house sell in this amount of time, but it may not relate to their specific house. So in general, when you look across Niagara, anything up to 500,000 is selling in the 30 to 35 day on average time frame. And then once you get over that, and then 500 to 750,000, you're at around 50 days. 750,000 to $1 million is at about 70, 75 days. $1 million to $2 million is at about 100 days. You get the point. $2 million to $3 million, $2 million to $4 million, you're up to 220, 240 days. But with the less number of sales, then you can have an outlier pull the data right in the wrong direction. But in general, the meat and the potatoes in the market is in the 30 to 40 days on the market range currently sitting right now. The fastest city in Niagara, try saying that. You probably can. St. Catharines with 31 days in the market so far here in 2020. Lincoln, West Lincoln 30, 34 days. Welland 36. Niagara Falls 43 days in the market. Thorold averaging about 52 days in the market. But again, you have to look closer. Like if you looked at St. Catharines, that detached north end $300,000 to $600,000 house, the average days in the market for those is sitting around 13, 14 days. So that's less than half of the city average. So you really have to pull it apart and look at your house and your neighborhood and what's going on there. Try not to get too, big picture on something that is pretty specific. Number 7. New builds. The important thing to remember, not all new builds go onto realtor.ca, so it's not an all-encompassing representation of what's going on in the new construction side of things. That being said, St. Catharines, 2020 has had 513 new builds sold on realtor.ca. That's second all time to 2016. There was 736 back in 2016. In 2016, the average sale price of those new builds was $417,000. The average price of the 513 new builds in 2020 is sitting at $602,000. So in 2 years, the new builds that were posted to realtor.ca went from 417 to 602. But again, you can have a new build site with 60 units on it and only 18 go to realtor.ca. So you have to sort of put an asterisk on that one. Total sales volume, number 8. Total sales volume is if you took all the sales that happened and added up all the numbers, how much money do you have? And so for 2020, currently we're sitting at $4.2 billion. 4.2, a crap load of zeros, billion dollars. Actually on pace to get to about $4.5 billion total sales volume for 2020. That is an increase of $1 billion over 2019. So 2019 was at about 3.5 billion. 2020 is tracking towards 4.5 billion. So that's a $1 billion increase. It's actually double what it was back 5 years ago, 6 years ago. 2015 was 2.2 billion. And here we are in 2020 tracking up on 4.5 billion. Incredible numbers. I think. Number 9, almost there. Distribution of sales. This one's a bit nerdy. Really, it's just looking, if you have a restaurant, you have 7 entrees on your menu, which one sells the most? And so for the distribution of sales, what is the busiest price bracket? 2019, it was 300 to 400,000. 31% of the sales sold between 300 to 400,000 in 2019. Here we are in 2020. 29% of the sales sold between 400 to 500,000. So last year there was 687 sales in the 300 to 400,000 bracket. This year there was 232 less sales in that bracket. There's 455. So again, that speaks to the same thing, right? The price just edges up. But again, the busiest bracket, the meat and potatoes in the market, as they say, is 400 to 500,000 that had about 30% of the total sales volume. Lastly, supply. Number 10. Supply is the key. Supply is the thing, how much is on the grocery store shelves? Is there enough for all the customers that come in? And it really is a huge piece of where we're at right now. So let's look at St. Catharines. It's the prime case study in supply and demand. So in the last 4 months, St. Catharines, I have to read this, second lowest monthly available inventory behind the 2016 market. Remember, 2015, 16, 17 was when everything totally changed, right? But the last 4 months have had our second place in the lowest number of active listings, lowest inventory, which is the supply, the thing that puts the food on the shelves, right? When you look at the 300 to 700,000 price bracket in St. Catharines, October 2020, there was 178 active listings. October 2019, there was 320 active listings. So that's a decrease of 44% in the active available listings. When you look at sales, there was 207 sales in October 2020. There was 138 sales in October 2019. That's an increase of 50% in sales. So you have 44% less products, and you have 50% more sales happening. So what happens? Price goes up, because that's the nature of the beast, right? So as a result, over that time, for that month, over that same price bracket, the average sale price was up 14%. When you pull back and you look at the St. Catharines market in general, November is likely going to be the 4th month in a row with the average sale price over $500,000. November, October, September, August. July was close, but not quite. So those are the first 4 months ever that the average sale price in St. Catharines is top 500,000. It had never happened before. So as a result, we're going to see the average sale price for the year in St. Catharines. It was 488,000, I think, about a week and a half ago. We'll see where it shakes out. And I only look at St. Catharines because it's a larger volume, but that same thing is happening to some extent across Niagara, which is the good old-fashioned demand is up here, supply is doing its best, pricing is going with it. Because there's more buyers, there's less things to buy, the price goes up. That is it. That's the top 10, whatever that word or that name I made up for this list earlier. That is the top 10 list for the Niagara real estate market. Interesting factoids that you might find entertaining. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feedback, thoughts, you can DM us, comment. I'm going to put the St. Catharines report that I mentioned somewhere below or above this. But again, hopefully you found it entertaining, helpful, insightful, whatever the word you want to say. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. It's been a bit of a long day, so I'm going to go home. Okay. Thank you, guys. Cheers. See ya. Bye.